Trump supporters, I agree with you. I agree with you on a lot of things, and I'm a liberal. The cost of living is garbage. Housing market is out of control. Gas prices, horrific. Immigration definitely could use some work. I am on the same page as you about those things. And the thing is Trump, hear me out, is banking on the fact that you have not taken a government class in 10 to 50 years. Put in the comments, prove me wrong. Have you? Have you studied it? Because if you had, you would know that all of those things that we're complaining about, that Democrats in the last 3 to 4 years have actively tried to fix for us, while Republicans have actively tried to block for us. And I'm going to prove it to you. All I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pictures. That's it. Are you ready? Let's go. So contrary to some beliefs, bills don't just arrive on the president's desk and then they sign off on it. It goes through a lot of checks and balances. So you can see here, it starts off, a bill is proposed. Then it goes to this committee that you can see right up here. From there, this is the most important part. It goes to Congress. Congress is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate, both of which are made up of Democrats and Republicans and some independents. But see, that is where the issues come in, because it has to get passed, a bill, by both the Senate and the House. So let's say a bill comes down here, goes to the House of Representatives, and let's say it's a Democratic majority, and it's a Democratic proposed bill. The likelihood that bill will be accepted and passed and said yes to is high. So let's say it is said yes to. Well, now it has to go to the Senate. Let's say the Senate is ruled by a Republican majority, and it said no, they vote no on the bill. Well, guess what? It doesn't get to the president's desk that way. Then they have to go renegotiate and all of that. And then if they can also agree, if they make changes and they also vote yes, then it goes to the president and he can either sign and it becomes law, or no sign, in which case the bill is vetoed, and then it goes back up here and back to the Congress, or there's other steps that they can take too. But this is what's the most important, is that both of these legs of government have to say yes in order for the president to make any changes. Note that the vice president has no role in this except she is the president of the Senate. So if there is a tie, she is a tiebreaker. Let's take a look at the congressional environment that we're in right now. So this is the Senate up here. You can see that there's 45 members of the Senate who are in the Democratic Party, and 49 of them are in the Republican Party. And then you've got 4 independent. Here in the U.S. House, you've got 211 Democrats and 220 Republicans and 4 vacancies. Now, who has the majority here? Republicans. This is very important because remember what I said earlier about how Democrats are the ones that are trying to change these things, like the cost of living, like the price of gas, like the housing market, like immigration, but the Republicans keep shutting it down. This is why. Because in that slide that I just had, this one, there's actually a stopgap. Because even if you control both the Senate and the House, the Senate only has 50 seats, and yet you need 60 votes for it to pass. Therefore, we have what is called a filibuster. In 22, Democrats wanted to pass a bunch of really cool bills, and all 50 senators voted yes, but they needed 10 Republican senators to also vote yes, but Donald Trump asked them not to. Want to see what he asked to not pass for you? This one's cute. This one makes sure that oil companies can't gouge our prices for gas, our fuel at the pumps, and make sure that we can fill up our tanks for a reasonable rate, which is something that everyone is asking for, including a lot of Republicans. And Democrats proposed this bill. Democrats passed this bill in the House. Democrats passed this bill in the Senate, and then we needed the Republicans to pass it. And you know what they did? They said, F off, no. And that's because the lobbyists, the oil companies, paid millions to keep this. Here we have the Price Gouging Act of 2022, which also didn't pass the Senate. Democrats wrote this, Democrats passed it in the House, Republicans shot it down. This would have prevented price gouging from corporations for goods such as groceries and toiletries and utilities, things like that. And who shot it down? Republicans. Here we have the Wall Street Landlords Act of 2022. Democrats wrote this bill to prevent venture capitalist firms from scooping up single-family housing and jacking up pricing in the housing market, which has happened. Capitalist firms are the #1 homeowners in America. They own the most single-family real estate, and it is the reason why rent and mortgages are so incredibly high, and Democrats proposed to stop it in 2022. And it was also passed by Democrats in Congress, but it was blocked by, you guessed it, Republicans. And here we have the bipartisan border bill that notoriously was shot down by senators in the Republican Party. And here we have it. The easiest explanation is that Republicans in both the House and the Senate yielded to objections from their all but certain presidential nominee, former President Donald Trump. Once the House Speaker stated publicly that he would not allow the Senate bill to reach the House floor for a vote, Republican senators were unwilling to run the political risk of supporting a measure that would not become law. So what that is saying is that Donald Trump did not want this bill to pass. So he talked to his buddies in Congress and said, don't let this hit the floor, because he knew that this was the strongest leg that he had to stand on, and he didn't want it fixed prior to the election. Listen, Democrats aren't perfect. These bills aren't perfect, but they are something. And if anything, it is proof that they're listening to Americans and what we need and how much we are hurting, and they are trying to provide solutions for that. Meanwhile, Republicans are doing everything that they can to shut them down. And they're painting this guise of, oh, well, they're not good enough yet. But nothing is ever going to be perfect. We need something. And the truth is that they keep shutting them down because A, their pockets are being lined by lobbyists and corporations that if these regulations were installed, they would be negatively affected. And or they're playing political chess. And we and our lifestyles are